Hey, in this segment, we're joined by Menashe Kastenbaum, who's the founder and CEO of Enthusiast Gaming, which trades on the TSXV under the ticker EGLX. Menashe, how's it going?
Going well. Amazing.
Great. So you've been on the show before, but just quickly we'll go over sort of what the assets the company has. You have a ton of websites under your belt with a ton of users, but why don't you just rattle off a couple of names and numbers?
Yeah, I mean, right now we're a massive ecosystem of gamers representing sites, social media channels, and YouTube channels, about 900 YouTube and Twitch channels, and 80 or so massive online websites. That gives us 150 million visitors monthly, with us engaging, creating content in this ecosystem and gathering data on everything. Some of our sites are big influential media or community type sites such as Destructoid, Escapist, Daily Esports, Operation Sports, the Sims Resource. So each of them represent different segmentations, micro segmenting our demographic, focusing on different aspects of it and really engaging and providing them with a social online community to talk about esports, talk about their favorite gaming companies and games.
Yeah, like some of these sites like Destructoid, you may go to get a review on a game you're interested in, and Operation Sports, which I've been a member since 2007, you have a community of people who are really into sports and sports games, and they talk about it and post, and so it's quite, the audience is a little bit different from maybe like a sitcom fan. These people actually are engaged and kind of contribute to an ongoing discussion.
Exactly. Yeah, it's always exciting to find someone in the wild who's like a member of one of our communities, like on a plane, sitting next to someone and says, oh yeah, I'm Icy Veins. Oh, I'm part of that community for 10 years already. So it's cool to see, these people aren't just online, they actually exist in real life. So yeah.
Yeah, for sure. So let's just dive into this big press release you guys put out. There's a lot of stuff going on, so we're going to try to dissect it.
Yeah.
You've announced a merger with Aquilini Game Co. and Luminosity to sort of become a major esports global leader.
Yeah.
So let's dive into that first. Just initially, the decision to go with these groups.
So we spent a lot of time with the Aquilini group to understand kind of their vision. Obviously, we've done 12 acquisitions over the past 18 months or so. Pretty much every deal comes across our plate, our desk, and we look at it and analyze it and see if it makes sense. Many different esports organizations reached out to us, but a lot of esports organizations are just trying to get a team and do some franchise appreciation, kind of a traditional sports model. We're very data-centric, analytics-centric, and user engagement online-centric. We have our 55,000 people who came last year to our events, but that's part of our community. It's an ecosystem. So our understanding of the esports world was always that the teams are really made up of people who are influencers in their own right. They're massive celebrities. Some of them, like everyone recognizes Ninja, right, who was part of Luminosity. It was founded, so Steve Maida, the president of Luminosity, who, is becoming right now part of the Aquilini group as part of this deal. He's an expert at finding this rare talent, people who are going to become stars or are just on their way to becoming stars. And to have those kind of influencers and that kind of a brand equity is something that brings 50 million new social media followers, but it's not just what we have in our wheelhouse right now, which is people coming to our websites and reading content. These are people who are interacting directly with their favorite stars, and they have rich data, they have rich engagement. If you take what we have with our data analytics and our ability to monetize, because a big part of our office, if you came young and ugly to our office, you'll see our monetization team is quite strong, and obviously we're one of the first few in this space to have significant revenue streams, and even understanding our business model. We said if we could take all of that, and our sales team is able to take the data and sell across all this to provide to sponsors, advertisers, what they're already buying from us, but now not only are you able to put ads in front of them, not only are we able to put memberships in front of them, you're able to directly interact with them, with the players. So the teams competing are part of something that gives them a championship caliber level that people really adore them, people are looking up to them, puts them right on the global world stage. But if you take that kind of content and those influencers and you couple them with us, we think that's the real model to go. It's not something we have to guess at how we're going to make money. We already know how to earn the revenue and how to monetize. So the team winnings is great, the sponsorships are great, the attendees coming to watch them is great, but if you take all the data and all the eyeballs on there and the engagement, that's our bread and butter. So we think that's the real move forward in this esports world.
For sure. So we'll get a little bit more into the sort of revenue model in a bit, but the Aquilini group and Luminosity, just for those who might not understand, Luminosity, a lot of people recognize it as that brain game app, and the Aquilini group. Well, why don't you just explain who's involved and why they're noteworthy within the space?
So the Luminosity brain game app is actually a different company. Yeah. This one is Luminosity, the esports brand. Yeah. They have 7 championship caliber teams. So think of games like CSGO, Call of Duty, Overwatch, Madden, Apex, Fortnite, all the top esports games that are being competed on the highest level globally. They have championship caliber teams that are winning and competing at the highest level. So you have 100 plus different esports organizations and teams in the world right now, ranking them in various levels. Luminosity is one of at the forefront in that top level championship caliber. And there's only so many of those out there right now who have built an organization to that level. So it's all these teams competing across the full spectrum of esports tournaments and creating star power with their players.
Okay, and then the Aquilini group.
Yeah, so the Aquilini group, the Aquilinis, of course, are very well known for being the owners of the Vancouver Canucks, right. The Rogers Arena. They're one of the most prestigious Canadian families. They bring a certain panache and a certain clout and exposure, the ability to open doors to strategic partners in a different level. So while we've been this scrappy, startup in the gaming world and grown from a grassroots level to taking a public, revenue, etc., there's a whole new league that we want to be able to play on. We would like to be a global force, a dominant force in this space. We have a very broad vision of what we like to really achieve over the next few years. So having that kind of a backing, of that kind of a family, that kind of an organization was really important. So the Aquilinis set out to create this Aquilini Game Co., where they acquired Luminosity, they acquired the rights to the franchise in the Overwatch League for Vancouver, and they were very gung-ho on becoming one of the top brands, backing and creating a top brand in the esports sector. But then they also have, they're able to have the insight into Live Nation, who of course puts on a lot of events at their stadium, and they saw how there was this play of Live Nation being the owner of all these live entertainment events that go on. And then they merged with Ticketmaster, who was all these users and all this data. And when you put them together, the data, the user base, plus the content of the events became the global leader in live entertainment. So seeing that, they got a certain, when they saw the esports side of it, they said, well, if we could plug that into a user base with data who are already focused on this and already achieving it, we could really create a big monster here. We could really become a dominant industry leader. So that vision, when we spoke to multiple esports organizations and said, who would we like to pick as our horse in the race that really understands the same value system as us, provides that backing, we thought the Aquilini group was the one to go with.
For sure. So let's talk about the money a little bit and the way it affects the share price and so on and so
Sure.
forth. Yeah. So I'm seeing here, because of the acquisition, there's 22 million in pro forma revenue, 36 million in cash on the closing of the merger. Yeah. So how does that work?
So the 22 million pro forma is 2018. Yeah. We're not giving guidance forward. We're just saying if you took Luminosity, Enthusiast Gaming, and our acquisition of the Sims resource in 2018, all of our revenues, that combine is 22 million.
Okay.
So that's the pro forma. We've all been growing at a rapid rate, so we'll hopefully continue to achieve that growth. So what happened with the Aquilini Game Co. and Luminosity was they did their last round privately at 30 cents. They set out to raise 15 million or so, I believe. It was oversubscribed. Multiple big institutions wanted to be a part of it. It got cut back significantly, but they raised 25 million at 30 cents. They continued operating, acquiring Luminosity, furthering the business. To this point, they now are in the middle of a underwritten bought deal at 45 cents. That's open right now. It's in the middle. Potentially could be upsized. We'll see where that lands. It's not closed, so we can't really talk about that much in terms of a press release because it's not closed. But that's at 45 cents and essentially values them in our exchange ratio, giving us kind of the $1.90 rate. Mm-hmm. So the 30-cent round would have been at $1.50 if in an exchange ratio, but with the new financing that they're in the middle of completing, that actually puts us at $1.90 in this deal. So the combined entity, the implied market cap post consolidation at that $1.90 is about $300 million valuation for the total company, and that kind of puts us one level higher, of where we are right now at our 75 million or so market cap. On a fully diluted basis, will put us into a different league, and we can kind of take it from there of additional consolidation and M&A almost on a completely different level. We really would like to get that head start, be first in the space, be one of the largest in the space, and that it gives us that ability to be vertically integrated on every level, on the team level, the events level, the player level, the community and websites level, and then the actual EGLX, that our festival level. So there's a full supply chain here on a very large scale that gives us that consolidation.
No, and that's what's interesting. There's so many different aspects to it, like the website, the events, and I'll bring up the event in a second. But before we move on, how does this change the management structure, if at all, and sort of the direction the company is going in?
So on a fully diluted basis, we're at 50-50 in terms of ownership. So you have to take all the warrants, options, everything fully diluted. We priced the deal at 50-50. The management is also an equal management, equal board. So we're taking, one of the hardest things in terms of scaling the company for myself was we're growing at such a rapid rate. The first round we did early 2016 was at $1.3 million valuation. And we quickly we did a 10x in growth. So it went from that to $3 million valuation to 13 million to 47 million to 75 million, and now we're taking that to 300 million. To grow that quickly in 3.5 years with that amount of onboarding staff and bringing on talent and figuring out the processes of how can we really scale this as aggressively as possible while maintaining our execution abilities, meant that you really need strong resources. And I'm more of a self-taught entrepreneur. I love it, I enjoy it, and I've learned on the fly as best as I could. Right. But you take Adrian Montgomery, the other CEO, and he's someone who's operated billion-dollar companies already. He's someone who could bring a different level, and we see very much eye to eye in this partnership. So with him focusing a lot on the capital markets and the vision and the strategic partnerships, really being up there, and then me bringing kind of the operational side and helping grow internally the business. I've had to do both sides of it, the capital markets and the operations, but this really allows me to focus as the president as the internal operations, which is what I really love, is growing the actual business. And then we have multiple parts of the management. They're bringing their CFO, they're bringing Steve, who understands influencers like no other, and then we're bringing our COO, Eric, who's the SVP of Finance, Mayor on this as CIO. So we have these two really talented teams coming together. And I think for me, that's what we really needed to take this to a completely new stage, a new level. We're not satisfied with that status quo or being a small player. We want to aggressively become a dominant player in the whole thing.
Yeah, and one of your most outward-facing, things that you do is the EGLX event, which is in Toronto in October. Is that right?
It's in October, yeah.
Yeah, And just give an idea of the size and scale of that and how that's grown.
I mean, that's the same way that our revenues and our user base has grown so aggressively over 3 years. It's the same on the event side. You know, our first event was in a little bar with 100 people. A year later, we had 1,700 people at 30,000 square feet in the International Center. A year later, we had 12,000. And then this, that was 2016. This past year, we had 55,000 people. And now we'd like to explore moving to multiple cities. We have a lot of negotiations going on of the formats, and we always want to be taking it to an entirely new league. We don't want to just grow linear, like here's a couple percentage growth. We want this to grow bigger in the vision of what we're trying to create. So, and to us, we also look at it. It's not just a trade show with like a bunch of booths, right? This is a festival. It's a celebration of our community, our online community, who we understand, and I personally am a part of, and many of our staff members are a part of, because we love gaming. We love the esports world. We love competitive gaming and regular gaming. It's just a passion. So that's what we really tried to create this event because we wanted it. We loved it, and of course, the gamers sense that. So that's a big part of it, and we'll have Luminosity part of that. With all their influencers, and it's a natural tie-in to have them. Our Rising Stars is our new tournament series we announced, which is blending all of our online communities, the content side, capturing the footage of the narratives and storylines, along with finding that low-level hidden gem who wants to become a rising star and actually interact and be mentored by the pros. So Luminosity and all their influencers actually help for us to create the vision of that tournament series. Yeah,
and the events is that's one of the easier ways to understand how you make money, because people buy tickets, they go there and spend money, there's sponsors and so on. So expanding that is sort of seems like a no-brainer, although you need more capital to do that type of thing, right?
For sure, and this gives us about 36 million war chests, which we could start deploying to continue realizing our dreams and our vision.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And I guess just one last thing is just for people to help them understand a little bit. I mean, in Asia, you have things like people taking courses at a university on like how to game. So where do you see the space in like maybe 5 years or however long you think there'll be some kind of a drastic change?
Yeah, well, my famous refrain that I always say in most of my presentations is always the 4 types of gamers, from casual to hardcore, extreme, which is gaming as a fun distraction, gaming as a hobby, gaming as a passion, and gaming as a lifestyle. And esports falls into that new segment of gaming as a lifestyle, of people living it, breathing it, competing in it, watching broadcasts, creating broadcasts, living online on our websites, talking day and night about it. It's literally their lifestyle, which is me as well, growing up. So in that lifestyle brand, that's where we'd like to play in. So I think our events and our online forums, they're all kind of merging into one entity of how do we capture this lifestyle gamer.
Great. Well, Manashe, thanks for coming in and give us an update. That sounds like some really exciting things in the works. So we'll keep an eye on the company, and hopefully you'll come back in and let us know the next big thing that's coming around.
Thank you. Will do.
Cheers.